Lalita ma'am, all is set. We are live on YouTube. You
Yes,
can get
yes, sir.
starting the
Fantastic.
proceedings, ma'am.
Fantastic, sir. Fantastic. Shall I start off?
Yes, ma'am.
Is my voice clear?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am. Loud and clear.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Good evening to one and all, our respected chairman, our CEO, our wonderful guest for today, Dr. Yatri Thakkar, our education officer, Mr. R.K. Singh, all dear colleagues, parents, and very dear students. A wonderful evening, bright and sunny, and we are going to learn about how to improve the emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence, in fact, is one of the vital factors and essential for today's world, when cognitive development can actually happen just like that because of the advancement of technology. However, how to be emotionally intelligent, how to connect with people, how to connect with the universe and the cosmos, and how to stay grounded is essential for the youth and children of today. And to throw more light on this, we have Dr. Yatri Thakkar, who is from Mumbai, and she is an occupational psychologist. She's also a pediatrician, and she offers services in a number of areas, some of them being parent counseling, stress counseling, child counseling, homeopathic physician, yoga, and marriage and marital counseling, career counseling. But what is most interesting is prenatal counseling, when young couples expecting their first child look forward to going to such experts as Dr. Yatri Thakkar and getting to understand more about parenting, more about how they can become wonderful parents. Sometimes I wonder, that the only job which is so important and so essential is that of the parents, and there is no training for them. So it's very important that we have people like Dr. Yatri Thakkar who are providing this. I think it's a wonderful thing, ma'am. And we also have with us our own expert in self development and in personality development, our chairman, Mr. Rama Naidu, who will also be speaking and throwing more light on various ways and means how we can manage our lives. We have our CEO who will be a part of the question answer session, and he'll be moderating the same. We also have with us Mr. R.K. Singh, who is our education officer and a great support for our organization. Over to you, first I would like request our chairman, Mr. Ramanaidu, to speak, and then I will hand it over to you, ma'am, Dr. Thakkar. Thank you very much. Over
Thank
to
you,
you,
ma'am.
sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Good evening to all of you. Today, we are really happy to learn from Dr. Thakkar about emotional intelligence, how we can really help our children to improve it and enhance it. Prior to handovering the session to her, I would like to talk about emotional intelligence, how we act day in, day out. Let me start with a question. A bat and a ball is costing around rupees 1.1. Bat is 1 rupee more than ball. What is the cost of bat, and what is the cost of ball? Very simple question. You can type your answers in your chat box. If you want, I'll repeat the question again. Whoever answers first will be sending Dairy Milk Silk Chocolate through Flipkart or Amazon. A ball and bat is costing around 1.1 rupee. Ball is 1 rupee more than bat. Ball is 1 rupee more than bat. What is the cost of ball? What is the cost of bat? Yeah, I'm getting answers. Thank you. Great response. Vaishali, Sai Saran, many responses. Yes, yes, yes. Great. Go ahead, go ahead. Go ahead. Still, I'm waiting for right answer. Still, I'm waiting. Again, I'll repeat. Mathematics students, mathematics teachers can think twice. Yeah. One Darshini, no, Pankaj Nag, congratulations. The first student who won this prize is Pankaj Nag. This is how we all work in our day-to-day operations. All of us are having two intelligences. One is emotional intelligence, other one is IQ. That is called EQ and IQ. Most of us work with our EQ without giving much thought to our IQ. Ball and bat together cost 1.1 means if it is 0.1 is the ball cost, it should be total should be around 1.2. It cannot be, right? If ball cost is 0.5 and bat is more than 1 rupee for ball, 1 rupee means 0.5 plus 1.05 is 1.1. That means bat cost is 1.05, ball cost is 0.5. It's not about bat is 1. If it is bat is 1, ball is 1.1, it should be 1.2, right? So all of you use your emotional intelligence to answer it instead of giving your thinking brain and reasoning brain. So today's session is all about how to inculcate, to empower your emotional brain in tandem with your intelligent brain, that is thinking brain or rational brain. All of us are carrying two brains, a right brain, left brain. These brains are independently acting for their own reasons. Since these brains work with intuitive level, mostly we respond without allowing our thinking brain to think and respond it. To go further about this topic, we act mostly and day in, day out based on our emotions. Emotions are indispensable in our day-to-day life for any kind of actions we take, whether it is a good action or it is a bad action. Good actions, you may feel happy. Bad actions, you may feel upset. But we don't have much control when you don't practice few steps of controlling your emotional intelligence. To manage your emotions, we need to improve our emotional intelligence. There is a way to improve your emotional intelligence compared to your intelligence quotient. That is, EQ can always be practiced, learn something like a muscle. As long as you can go to gym and you build muscles, your emotions also can be built, can be practiced throughout your life from your 1 year birth to till your death, that is your 80 years or 100 years. But all of us should really aware what are those emotions, how one has to identify those emotions, or we need to really understand. Emotions are part of our life. When you feel happy, or when you feel sad. Those two cases, though you may feel low or though you may feel high, your emotional intelligence is working very effectively. Pankaj, you'll get chocolate by tomorrow 10 o'clock. I'll ask my admin manager, Mr. Kiran, to order immediately right away. You deserve it. Okay. I'll just talk about how parents can help their children to improve their emotional intelligence by following 2, 3 very easy steps. The first one is, let us help our children. What are the emotions? Maybe grade 1, grade 2, grade 3 students may not know what is emotion at all. Though they express it, they show it. I wanted to show those things for a minute. If you give me a chance to be, let me share my screen for a minute.
If you can very quickly go
Yes.
to more and disable annotation, that would be great.
Yes, sure. Yeah, done. Yeah. So all of you can teach.
One more time, click on annotate.
Yes,
and
clear
clear
annotation.
all drawings. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So the first step of teaching your children emotions are, you need to introduce what are the vocabulary really child should understand emotions, whether it is happy or proud or bored, angry, embarrassing, surprised, curious, scared, sad, and shy. Children should really know these vocabularies from their childhood onwards. Mostly our children know better than us through our cartoon channels. Even my daughter, who is studying grade LKG, she uses these kind of vocabulary our day in day life. She says, I'm really bored, I can't watch cartoon now, give me your phone. The teacher is really giving too much of homework, I'm sad. So these children are aware, but we can try to consciously help our children to understand what these emotions are all about. Yeah. So again, to introduce little more vocabulary on these emotions: angry, guilty, hopeful, surprised, sorry, proud. You try to help your children to understand what are the emotions are. This is the first step. The second step, you can try to help your children whenever you wanted to appreciate their actions. Try to use proper vocabulary about emotions and appreciate them, that yes, they can accomplish using using their own abilities. You are trying to build the confidence in them that they are responsible for their own actions. They're independent people who can think on their emotions, act on their emotions. Third way, you can try to help your children whenever you feel embarrassed by your child activities or actions. Instead of shouting at them, take a step back, talk about the emotions, how they felt or how he felt in a particular incident. Take the incident and follow the series of actions the child had done, so that child will understand how you really felt bad or difficult by doing the particular action. And child start understanding these things. Even a grade 1 child will understand when you take a time and talk about all these actions, so that child emotions will be clear. Third and most important thing, you should encourage your children how to manage their emotions. For example, your grade 10 student really upset when the child did not selected for school leadership. The child may start crying, they start showing anger or agitation with you. All of you should really help how the child should come out of this difficulty. This is part of life. So that you tell them how they can control their emotions. The last but not least, You also help your children how socially they can use their emotions with empathy, and also trying to think by keeping themselves in other shoes. That is called social emotions, so that children will have peer help, and also they'll understand other children problem. So this is how you can help your children. First of all, awareness, creating awareness in the children. Second, you are trying to teach your children how to manage it. Third, you are trying to help them how socially they can utilize their emotions to help their friends, or recognize their friends' difficulties, or understand their friends' challenges. This is how you can really habituate ourselves day in, day out. To help your children, you start practicing these things in your life with your wife or spouse or husband. If you don't follow these things at your level, you start shouting at each other in front of the children. Children also will understand this is how the life can be, or they may condition their brain, their mind, about these emotions may need to be managed like this. So you also need to aware about your actions and try to manage your emotions with your own actions with your life partner or your other people who are with you, so that children will imitate you, follow your actions. With this, I'll conclude. I would like to hand over to Dr. Atri. Thank you all. Atri, hand over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Ramanan. It was beautifully, expressed by you. You actually got everything together in a gist, and I will try and express more on each point that you just mentioned.
Thank you.
Before I just want to begin, just one thing I would want to make it clear, or this is Naidu happened to mention that I'm an occupational therapist. I'm not, nor a pediatrician. I'm a homeopath and a counselor and an international childbirth educator. But yes, the other things also I do follow something called as baby and me programs. So just to make inform that. Okay. So I'll just be sharing my screen. I think Mr. Ramanan, your screen is on. But not
Is it?
Yes.
Did I not stop? I think I stopped sharing. You can try now. Yes.
And Dr. Yatri, just a couple of small settings.
Yes, please.
Yeah, if you can click something called more button, do you see at the bottom of your Zoom panel, bottom or on the top?
Okay.
Somewhere near, are you able to see something called
Yes.
reactions? Yeah.
Yes.
Do you see something called disable annotation for participants, something like that?
Yes.
Yeah, can you please disable that?
Sure.
Yes, yeah. Now it's you're all set. Thank you.
Can you see my screen? Is it clear?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. So today, a lot is spoken to children and parents about the intelligent quotient, how much marks they can score, what is the grade they got. Finally, schooling is all about getting your grades. But how many parents actually talk about the emotional intelligence? And it is as important, or I would say 4 times more important than the IQ. The emotional intelligence is 4 times more important than the intelligent quotient to make you a successful human being and a successful entrepreneur. So that is what, if we imbibe from beginning, we learn how to cope with it. So today's session is all about that. I would be more than happy to answer as many questions parents want to ask. So go out, reach out to me as much as you can. Okay, so all of you, I want like just 1 minute from every parent, or even I can see older children here. Take your 2 minutes and try and be honest with yourself. And I'm asking you 2 or 3 questions. The first one is, in the last 1 week, how often have you thought about your emotional intelligence? Okay, now I mentioned about emotional intelligence. I'm sure you've got it into awareness. Be honest with you and answer, how often have you used the skills of emotional intelligence? And my
Dr. Atri, your voice is little low. Could you please be louder?
sure. I'll just check.
Maybe you can try to keep your mouth mic nearby.
Am I
Yeah.
audible now?
Yes, it's better.
Is it better? I'll check the volume. Yeah, it's full volume though.
Okay. Maybe you need to be little louder.
Okay, I will try. I'll come closer to the.
Yes. Thank you.
Maybe that should help. Yeah.
Thank you.
So my
Thank you.
first question, is it better now?
Yeah, it's better. Now it's better.
Great. So my first question was, how many of you in the last 1 week have thought about emotional intelligence? And then how many of you actually during that week utilize your emotional intelligence skills? And my third question to you is, have you actually developed your emotional intelligence? So if we know the facts says that most of the adulthood mental issues are connected to your childhood. And that has to do a lot with emotional intelligence. Okay. Emotional and social skills are 4 times more important than considering success in prestige and professional settings. The skills of EI helps kids manage conflict, have more friends, and acquire leadership qualities. And our final goal as human beings is to live happier life. And EI actually helps us to develop that. Okay. Now, there is a lot of confusion between people asking me a lot of times, what is emotions and what is emotional intelligence? And what is exactly emotional intelligence? So emotional intelligence is actually the skill that you develop so that you can manage your emotions better, which helps you to relieve your stress, not only for yourself, but for others around you. And while doing so, you actually start making your life much more easier and happier to live with. And what are emotions? Emotions are exactly what you feel at that moment due to certain actions. So there is this difference between the two. Let me give you an example. Say if a child is crying. The child, if he says, Mama, I am sad. So sadness is an emotion. The child is crying is just not showing your emotional intelligence. It's about showing a general feeling or reaction what the child is having. So this is the actual difference between emotional intelligence and emotions. So when we talk about emotions, Mr. Ramanan has already given a lot of, he gave very cute emojis and those kids, with the facial expression. But, there are a lot of more words, and the vocabulary is something which helps you to feel and connect with yourself better. So I have penned down like happy. You could also be thankful. You could be happy because you're thankful to somebody, you're trusting somebody, you're comfortable, you're contented or satisfied, you're relaxed. Therefore, also you're happy. So check out that when you're using your vocabulary of emotions, what is it connected to in deeper levels? For example, if you say, I am embarrassed, try and connect yourself and go deeper. You're embarrassed because you are lonely at that moment in a group, because you're ashamed, or you feel pathetic about yourself, or are you confused? When you feel hurt, again, try and check out. You are hurt because you're jealous of someone? Do you feel betrayed? Do you feel abandoned? Or are you shocked and therefore you're hurt? So these, I think if you can take a picture of this and it helps you so much to feel connected. And I've tried and put it in different columns. So it helps you to connect better. So if you're feeling any kind of emotion, try and find out where the connection is or from where this thing started. And when you start improving your vocabulary, you learn how to develop your emotional skills. Now, every time notice, I've been saying emotional intelligence skills. So skill is something that you develop. You don't learn it automatically. For example, we actually developed the skill of the child to write full sentences. How did we do that? First, we made them learn alphabets, maybe one words, then maybe slowly 2, 3 words in a sentence, and then they started writing paragraphs. So it is actually building over step by step what you naturally have. So we naturally, as human beings, have this thing of feeling something, having thoughts and emotions. But when you have emotions and you don't do much about it, you cannot create emotional intelligence. You have to step by step develop your skill towards it. Now, before getting into what do you exactly do for EQ skills, let me give an example of 2 kids of the same age, and tell me if any of you want to understand what the difference is. So the first child, 10 years old, he came up to my clinic and the mother said, Doc, my child cries for every smallest thing. What do I do? I said, okay, so what is your reaction as a parent? She said, well, I'm tired of his crying. I'm tired of him complaining all the time. So I ask him to just go ahead or give him something for what he's crying. And then he just shuts up and I feel better. But doc, help me because every day his crying has increased for smallest little thing. Okay, so this is first example. And I'll tell you how we all cope and how we can react to different situations. Now, the other child, 10 years old, again, mother came to me in the clinic and she said, Doc, my child is always irritated. I said, okay, what do you think makes him so irritated? And she said that, he shows his irritation only when I'm back from work. I work throughout the day. I work 8 to 10 hours a day. But when my others who live in the house tell me that only when I come home, he's irritated. Otherwise, he's very well behaved. He doesn't complain of anything. So I asked the patient's mother. So I said, how do you react to his irritation? And she said, well, I sit beside him and trying to listen what actually irritated him during the day, what his complaints were, and he keeps on talking and talking for half an hour. And doc, I see to it for that half an hour, I don't do any work, but I'm sitting with him and just listening. Now, in both the scenarios, whom do you think the child has been able to react better or has felt better? Parenting is something that we need to develop. And in fact, I insist a lot on conscious parenting and developing conscious parenting skill, because we as parents react in certain way, not because what we have been taught, but because we have seen our parents do something. So either we exactly copy that or we completely rebel. We do not work as parents because of certain reasons, what we are supposed to do for a child, because every child is unique. So at this point, I want every parent to at least ponder on these 2 questions. Are you using your parenting style because you have seen your parents do something, your mom behaving certain way, your dad behaving in certain way, and you think that's the best way to behave? But did you really have happy childhood? Did you have any regrets? And the second question you need to ask yourself is, because you didn't have a very happy childhood, have you become a rebel? So you're having your parenting style exactly opposite of what you're supposed to do for your children. I would say again, maintain a balance. Okay. And first step towards the conscious parenting is developing emotional quotient for yourself and for the children. So what do we do to develop this emotional quotient or emotional intelligence in children? The first step is awareness. Now, we as adults would want to understand and connect, or maybe understand what awareness is. Awareness is when you notice something, when you give attention to something. And then when you focus something on something, you become aware of that. Yes? So it's quite easy for us, minute I say, okay, notice your watch is very beautiful, or notice how your hair is, or notice what you're talking. Till then, you're not giving attention to whatever the details have. Yes? So awareness is bringing attention to that thing. When you want to develop your child's emotional intelligence, first allow them to notice what their emotion at that moment is, what they are feeling at that moment, what you notice at that moment. So bring in that awareness to them. The next step is action. So, say if your child is hurt, see how he is reacting to that hurt. Is he crying? Is he hitting? Is he throwing things? Or is he just sitting in a corner quietly? So check where and what his actions are. At the same time, try and find the cause for that emotion. So if he's hurt, try and find the cause, whether he's hungry, therefore he's reacting this way, or he's hurt because he's not got something, whether he's hurt because I'm pressurizing him or her to study too much. Where is that coming from? So the action is not only about what the child is reacting due to that emotion, it is also about knowing where did that cause come from, or how did it start. The third way of developing the emotional intelligence is through connecting emotions and action. So again, let me give an example of those two boys whom I gave. The first one, he went crying to his mother, and mother was annoyed because he kept on crying. Over here, notice he was not talking about his emotions. Why was he crying? Was he sad? Was he dejected? Was he hurtful? Was he shocked? Was he jealous? Was he being bullied? The mother did not connect his emotions to his action of crying. The second example, where the child was irritated, the mother actually was with him and reacted in such a way, listening to his emotions. She gave full time to him and accepted the way he was. The one who was complaining indirectly that maybe he was insecure, that his mother didn't give him enough time, and therefore irritated only when mom came from work. And when the mom gave that attention to the child, that is her action, connecting emotion and action, the child already felt better and he could cope with his own problems. Now, the fourth and the important skill to develop is the coping skill. And for children, I would strongly advise the schools to imbibe in their curriculum the emotional intelligence, and there are a lot of play methods or ways that they can inculcate in the curriculum. And in fact, you can start right from nursery. So what you can do, maybe you can make a deck of cards with each emotions and the child's face. Ask the child to pick the card and tell them what kind of emotion that card is showing. That's the first step. The next step, maybe once they can identify the emotion, maybe you can ask them to maybe do a role play that when did they feel that emotion, emotion of happiness. So maybe the child will just say, oh, I was so happy when I went out with my parents, and the child will enact. You see, in the education system, if we help these children to raise their EQ as higher as their IQ, imagine the society that we are going to live in the future. So that could be one way of play method. The other way of play method, which I advise to a lot of my patients and during the sessions, is snakes and ladders is a game that so many kids love playing, right? What exactly does that game teach or do? The child learns to move ahead and is moving ahead, going on top, but there is a snake bite and therefore comes down. Failures are a part of our lives. And the child learns to deal with those failures while playing such a small game. But it is on to us how we are playing with them. So maybe you can again bring a fun way of teaching your children. So say when the child is maybe gets a snake to climb up the ladder, or maybe gets a ladder to go up, you can ask the child what your emotion is. He will say happy. Then you try and say, okay, can you use some other vocabulary of happy? So he will start using words like delighted, overjoyed. So he's improving his vocabulary, and then try and tell them, okay, in last 1 week, when was the instance when you were really happy? Now, at the same time, the snakes and ladder game, if the child gets a snake and is being bitten by the snake, so comes down, so try and help them to connect. When was it when they felt sad? Maybe just while playing the game, they might just say, oh, my best friend didn't talk to me today, so I was sad, which you had no idea about. So let's make fun plays for these children to learn in fun way and yet develop the emotional intelligence. So now, while you understand the coping skills that they need to learn and the importance of it, how do we do it? How do we become conscious parents? How do we develop and cope with this? The first step again in that is ask a lot of questions. Say your child comes crying towards you and ask, what happened? I'm there for you. Is it something you want to tell me? How are you feeling right now? Rather than just going into conclusions, what the child is saying, or we as parents and adults reacting to whatever they are doing, ask them a lot of questions. This helps them for introspection. This helps them to think that their reaction is away from normal. Okay. Also ask them a lot of questions like who they are. Who do you think you are? So, bullying is something which is quite commonly seen in teenagers or older kids. So why is this bullying? Bullying actually comes from insecurity, or bullying actually comes because the emotional intelligence of the child is less. Why? Because they cannot differentiate between their emotions and the child whom they are bullying. They cannot differentiate it, and therefore they get into this aggressive mode, which creates more bullying and problem. The actual core issue for bullying is lack of emotional intelligence. So let's start developing these. So what do you do for conscious parenting? First, ask a lot of questions to your child. How are you feeling? What can I do for you? You can tell me, I am here for you, even if you're a teacher, if you're a homemaker, whoever you are, if you're a relative of that child, but ask them questions. Second, acceptance. So even if they are in their worst behavior, they are throwing tantrums, they're throwing things, you don't know what to do. But at that moment, you try and interrupt them and you try and show your different uncoped emotional intelligence skills of shouting back or maybe hitting them. What have you done? The actual situation becomes back to worse. So instead, at that moment, learn to accept that my child is unique, my child is reacting in different way, and I am here to accept that my child is throwing tantrum. There is something wrong with my child. I am accepting that and understand what's really going on. The third and most important is role modeling. Children actually behave what their parents are and how their parents are or how their teachers are. In their whole childhood, there are two people who make a mark in their life. One are the teachers and second are parents. So let's be great role models. We as adults need to learn to cope with our emotional intelligence skills. So if you are one of those who gets angry so easily, if you are one of those who cries for no reason for days together, if you are one of those as an adult who cannot cope with your failure and go into depression, then what do you expect from your children? So develop your own coping mechanism, develop your own emotional intelligence. And finally, is you as parents learn to acknowledge what your emotions are, differentiate between each emotion, appreciate it, And finally, learn to handle it, not only for yourself, but also for your child. Now, for children, um, how do we know or how do we teach them how to handle their emotions? I already gave you so many tips on how we can make it like a fun way to connect with your emotions. But how do you teach them to handle? So there are about 3, 4 areas, and this works even for adults. So when you're upset, try penning down all your emotions. Write about incidents that happen, what happened towards it, whatever you feel, be it logical, illogical, guilt feeling, whatever, start writing it down. The second thing is talk to a friend, talk to someone, talk your heart out without judging yourself, without judging them. So find a person whom you can talk to and who's neutral towards you. Could be a counselor, but talk. Okay. Third way of handling your emotions is through sports. Sports teach you, sports or physical exercise or anything to do with physical activity. Sports actually teach you to be disciplined. Sports help you to play a group sport, will help you to play, to have the team spirit. It will not only make your body fit, but also your mind fit, and also help you to build on your emotional intelligence. Why? Because you can handle your emotions better. Haven't you seen the footballers? So if they are too angry, can they kick the ball towards the goal? They need to have a balance of the emotions. Otherwise, they can't be as successful. Again, while handling all these things, you have to see what works for you. Every person is individual and you don't know what really helps you. So try a combination of all three. If nothing works, surely try and introspect and try and meditate. Breathing exercise helps to connect with to your mind and body, and that can help you to cope with the problems. For children, starting this right from early age makes them better human beings. So I hope I have been able to bring um, everything together. I would just want to mention this beautiful quote, which speaks a lot, that it is not what you do for your child, but what you have taught them to do for themselves that will help them to become successful human beings. Thank you so much. Um,
Thank you, Dr. Yatri. I think it has been a wonderful session.
Pleasure.
Yes, parents and their students, it is very important, that you need to treat your children as individuals with intelligence of their own, and definitely not, with each generation, each passing generation, you will find that the behavior patterns change. And so if you have been treated in a particular fashion by your parents, do not do the same with your children, because your child's thinking and behavior may be quite different from yours. And therefore understand them, and then, the minute you start empathizing with them, understanding them, you will find that yes, they definitely fall in track. And there are a lot of parents who kind of shout at children, or kind of get and fall in the interests only. After all, it's the parent who has the best interest of the child. But at the same time, you need to remember that children have to be emotionally stable before anything else. And we thank you very much, Dr. Yatri. And I think and if any of you would like to ask any questions, you can put it in the chat box, or you can raise your hands, and I will hand it over now to our CEO, Mr. Subramaniam, to moderate the question and answer session. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, ma'am. One more time, I would like to remind, if you have any questions to our main speaker today, go ahead and put them in the chat window. If you're watching live on Facebook or on YouTube, you can put the questions under the comment section so that we'll be able to take up those questions in this session today. Okay, there are questions coming up. Ma'am, first question is,
Yes, please.
yeah. So thank you very much, ma'am, for taking wonderful session for us. And the question from the parent is, what should we do to eradicate the detrimental effects of being good manager of emotional intelligence from the minds of kids? And the reason why parent is asking this question is because sometimes emotional intelligence is detrimental to the creativity of kids, right?
Yes.
And this may, too much pressure of society on mind may hamper the self creativity and useful ideas and innovation. And there are also, like, socially, from the society, there is a pressure of, to behave certain way, certain accepted way in the society and all that, yeah, please, your thoughts, ma'am, on this.
First of all, I think one needs to learn the tool of acceptance. If if you think your child doesn't fit into that social group that the others are talking about, have you really accepted the way your child is? And just bringing that energy of acceptance or that thought process of acceptance for your child will change the behavior of your child. Second, the creativity plays a major role in emotions, and it is very good to show your emotions. We have been taught either to hide our emotions or either to show too much of emotions and then don't handle it. But we need to really balance. So, in fact, if you kind of suppress your emotions, there are three ways one reacts. As an adult, if you have not have had enough emotional intelligence, an adult reacts in three ways. First is regression. Regression is almost like suppression, where that adult would have been told by his parent as a child that, well, you're crying, that's okay, get over it, move on. That parent was not ready to listen to that child's emotions. The second way an adult reacts is aggression. So there are those aggressive adults who get angry in spurt of a moment because they have not learned the skills of emotional intelligence as a child. And the third way an adult would react is expression. And that is the right way to deal or to cope with your emotional intelligence skills. So, while doing that, if you feel that by being creative, you're being able to vent out your emotions, go ahead. If you feel that being a creative person is not being successful, is that true? You could be a successful creative person. So define what is success to you. Success is something, do you always rate with the kind of job you have and the what your bank balance talks about? Or success is about bringing happiness, contentment, living a full life? I hope I have been able to answer all three together that you asked me.
Thank you very much, ma'am. The second question is, how to control our anger. This is, I think, from a kid, Dr. Yatri.
Sure. I'm glad. What's the kid's name?
Sahasra.
Okay, hi Sastra. I'm so happy you asked me, and I'm glad all kids can ask me any kind of question. Again, there is nothing like a right or a wrong question. Every question is right because you are asking it. Okay, so go ahead. All right. So understand what is making you angry. Ask yourself a lot of questions. Take a pen, take a book, keep that book completely confidential for yourself, and start writing questions for yourself. You could ask questions like, what is making me angry? How often am I getting angry?
Dr.
What
Atri,
are my
could you speak?
reactions?
Dr. Atri, sorry to interrupt you. Could you speak a little louder?
Okay. Now is it audible?
Yes, little. Yeah, 2-3 participants raising the concerns about voice is low.
Okay.
Voice.
Let me just quickly check the volume also.
You can come to little closer to your mic.
Now it's better?
Yeah,
Lot
it's
better. Lot better.
Okay, great. Sorry, my volume had gone down. And I'm not a loudspeaker, but I'll try. Okay, so you need to control your anger. The first step is ask yourself a lot of questions and pen down in a book. So the first question you need to ask yourself is, what is making you angry? Okay, it could be various incidences. Sometimes while writing answers, you will find the same trigger point indirectly. Second is ask questions like, what is my reaction while I get angry? What do I do? Am I throwing things? Am I irritated? Do I snap back? Do I become indifferent? What do I do? The third question that you need to ask yourself is, how often I'm getting angry? Is it 4 times a day? Is it 3 times? You know, when you do this exercise, sometimes you go into a shock even reading your answers because you're not even aware how you're reacting. If you do this, you will handle your anger by 50% already. Okay? So self-awareness, introspection, asking a lot of questions is the first step to control your anger. Now, 50% is solved, but we need to work on the other 50%. And the other 50% is finding the cause, what is making you angry, how can you change it? So if you really want to work on your anger, before you react or before you get angry, just in your mind, just ask this, how can I react differently this time? Can I make my anger a little lesser? Make yourself conscious before reacting. Okay, this is going to take you a long way, but I'm glad you're trying to improve and you've already won the battle since you want to improve.
Ma'am, I would like to add, Subhi, I would like to add to ma'am's point. Since the child asked this question, I'm little curious to share one thought.
Definitely.
See, first of all, knowing that you are getting anger, that itself is a great improvement in your behavior, that you are identifying your own anger or you are aware of your own things. That's great. The child, I'm happy to see the child of that level. The second thing, in addition to what Dr. Atri said, you can try to use your mental chatterbox, positive mental chatterbox, how we think inside about why, how, what. Since at the moment of your anger, our emotions are very high, we may not be in a state of writing or state of acting with our own consciousness. Take a step back and allow your mental chatterbox, think positive about yourself. You are such a good human being. How can you behave like that? You are such a highly recognizable person. You are such a wonderful, loving person. How can you be a person with lot of rashness or behavior others will not accept? So that's something like that. You are trying to hijack your mindset, trying to hijack your emotions using your awareness. You are using your positive mindset. Would that help? Maybe child really requires a lot of appreciation by everyone. I request all the parents to give one non-verbal clap to the child. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah.
You rightly said.
Very nice, very nice. A lot of positive affirmations.
That was a great tip given by Mr. Ramanan.
Yes. So the one more question. This is from a child. Her name is Navya. Girls are asking very good questions. So how do we recover from failure?
Hi, Navya. That's a great question. I would want to ask, what is failure for you as a child? Failure can be described in different ways, but what I understand usually children do say when they don't get good marks is what failure is all about. So in case, if you think that you've not got good marks and because that is a failure, ask yourself questions again. Introspection is the key, kids. Till you do not connect to your own self and inner self, till you are not introspecting, you will not find answers. And every person has the ability to find their own answers. So first step is ask a lot of questions. Where did I go wrong? What is failure for me? How am I feeling with the failure? The emotions, and connecting to the emotional intelligence, and how will I cope with it? So since you have already understood that maybe I've failed in something and I want to come out of it, that will be the first step for you to help you to come out of it. The second is you need to use a lot of coping skills. So try and speak to any of your friend or teacher. How do you feel as a failed person or with the failures? Do you feel like crying? Do you feel like hiding? Third is you try and see, once you talk to somebody, you try and see what can you do to handle it. So say you want to take a break for 1 week. Do you want to go and help poor people and feel that you've helped somebody and that way feel that you've achieved something? So it's a step of coping with your failure. And at the end of it, remember, every single day is not dark. Morning too comes. Each day is not a night. So with that hope, don't give up. You will surely succeed in it.
Subhi, I'm sorry to take the time. And ma'am, I'll add one more point on top of your question. Navya, see, instead of looking at your success or failure as end result, what I invite you or encourage you, in addition to Navya and all the children, believe in the process you followed to achieve the result. You may see success or failure when you really believe in your potential. Try to follow the process. Try to see that you followed up to your potential. That itself is a great awareness about yourself. Whether you achieve it or not, it's not matter for us, so that you don't really attach your emotions with success or failure. Then you can feel happy and abundant. That process will take you to great heights. So I'd like to announce Miss Marian joined our webinar today, the previous speaker on energy medicine. Marian, good evening. You are on mute, Marian.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. Continue, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Dr. Yasri, continue.
Yes. So let me bring up next question, please.
Yes, please. Hi, Marian. I'm glad you are here.
Yes. I'm happy to be here. I like your talk. Very good.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
So the next.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Yes, of course.
Why not?
Marian is from Netherlands. Maybe she will give us little more international flavor. How we need to handle our EQ from different perspectives.
Yes, I like to ask a question from the perspective of the parents. When children grow up, they first 5 years or 7 years, they learn by copying from the parents, and they pick up unconscious energy from the parents. How do you propose to teach the parents before they have children at all, before they get pregnant? Do you advise, what you advise to parents to take when they want children, they don't have any yet, to take a parenting course before they get pregnant, to advise the parents that children pick up unconscious energy of the parents, and that is how they learn, and that pattern, what they learn the first 5 years, is set for the rest of their lives. Is it advisable for parents to take a class before getting pregnant? What's your opinion on about it?
Yes, you have rightly put. Actually, the parenting starts from the day a mother thinks in her mind that I want to conceive and I want to
Yes.
have a child. The connection actually begins from that. And therefore, knowing that importance, I also conduct a lot of prenatal sessions, something called as connecting with the baby.
Arjun, your voice is very, very low.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
So
Yes, ma'am.
there
We
is
can hear you.
there is a lot of importance on one, the role modeling of the parent. Number two, the connection of a baby and the mother. I would say parents too. So therefore, in fact, I have created a program called as Connecting with Baby's Soul. At the time when the mother is pregnant, she can actually connect and give those vibes to the unborn baby. And beautifully, after the baby is born, that connection is visible. So it goes a long way. I would highly recommend parents to understand that children, you are like walking, talking role models for children.
Yes.
And
But it's
you need to check your emotional intelligence first and then
yes.
be responsible parents. And how do you check your emotional intelligence? The only way you can check your emotional intelligence is by knowing that in case whenever you've had failures, how is your interpersonal relationship with yourself and others? How have you been as a leader? How have you been as whatever occupation you are in? Have you been a person who is giving examples to others, or are you something who is unhappy? So check your emotional intelligence first and learn to enhance those skills, so children will automatically learn. Especially the first 5 years of the child are very, very crucial. The
Yes.
brain develops and they are seeing how the children, the mother reacts. I would go to even saying, even a newborn child has an inert personality of their own. You've seen a newborn who would react to, if you switch on the light, the baby will make a face, a newborn baby. Or in besides a newborn baby, there would be a newborn baby who would not react to any kind of sound or noise. What's that? That's actually the inert personality. That's actually what the children are born with. And then slowly, slowly, as they see things around, the environment and other things play a major role in the development. So parenting is a huge role and it is an important role.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Marian. Right question.
Lalita ma'am, do we have any more time? I think plenty of questions are coming up. I'm not sure how many we can take.
We can take another, if it is okay with Dr. Yatri.
I'm okay.
Yeah, another 2 questions, sir, we can take.
All right, ma'am. So this question is from one of the pre-primary parent. How to map the emotional intelligence level of our kids, as certain emotions are learnt in association with society and classmates. Only we get what we get is complaints or reaction or response from the school, or the friends, or from teachers and all that. As a parent, we are not available at those places always. So how do we need to map as a parent such kind of learnings that they are having, which parent doesn't have control on, and all that?
Yes. So emotional intelligence is something which is a learning process, in fact, for all of us, even as we grow as adults. It's never a process that will stop, or it's been learned only in childhood. So we also, as adults, could go through our ups and downs, and we still have to check out on our emotional intelligence. But it is like this. Let me give you a simpler example. When you learn how to drive a car, what do? You are consciously telling your mind, okay, go into the first gear and second and third, put your leg on the accelerator. So you are training your brain to drive in a certain way, step by step. Once you learn that, you don't have to remind yourself, you automatically drive. So emotional intelligence is exactly that. While you are developing those skills in kids, there will come a time that they will learn to use it at any time of their life. Now, so for children, per se, if your child is the one who can connect their emotions with their actions, then I would say you are on a good way. That means you're still teaching them those small, small steps to reach there. When your child can automatically reach to that driving space where he doesn't have to use his mind too much, that means you have been successful enough to imbibe that skill in him. This is the best way to judge the child's mapping or emotional intelligence. Now, a mother or father or a teacher, they do not need to be with the child all the time. Their friends also can be their indirect teachers. Okay? When the child, now, how do you know that if the child has used the emotional intelligence or not? If the child has learned the skill to empathize the other person's behavior without complaining and understanding them, you know that the child has had enough emotional intelligence. Okay, like let me give you an example. If a child is having a fight with his friend, and he's having fight with his friend because his friend has not shared with him the book or shared with him his favorite book, and the child is, while he's fighting, he does argue, he does show his emotion, but by the end of it, he does understand and empathizes with the child who is not sharing with him, that maybe it is so that, I have to give him that kind of sense that, okay, he's not shared for some reason. So when the child learns to differentiate between his emotion and other child's emotions, and learns that there are different kind of emotions and emotional coping skills, that means he's learned emotional intelligence.
Ma'am,
Thank
I would
you
like
very
to
much.
add one more point in addition to your answer. Subhi, do you have
Yes,
time?
please. Yes, please, please. We'll
Yes.
take one more question after this,
Yeah.
which I
Ma'am,
think
in
is very
addition to what you answered, you rightly said to the parent, see, let us allow our children grow along with the society, not only with the parents, as part of improving our emotional intelligence. We need to teach our children how to aware of their emotions. Second thing is how to manage their emotions. Third thing is how to socially manage their emotions along with their friends or peers or classmates or neighbors or relatives emotions. Third and most important thing, they should really understand each emotion requires little effort from both the sides. That means we need to survive in this entire life as a social animal. Let children learn from them, but you can become a tool to help them identify and manage it, so that whatever they learn from society or the classroom or teacher, this conditioning, you can change it by setting the proper boundaries. One of the child is asking, how can I control if I feel sad? How can I stop my crying? Let you cry so that your emotion go out. No one asks you to stop crying, right? But there is a way to control your sadness, right? That you can think about how aware of yourself about your action or your friend's actions. Did I answer, ma'am?
Totally.
Totally. Thank you.
One last question, ma'am. This is very, very important, especially for school children. One of the kid, her name is Jignasa.
Mhm.
She's saying, if I get less marks in exams, I feel very sad about it.
Yes.
How can I control it?
Jigyasa, it's natural to feel sad. And in fact, because you're feeling sad, that means some part of you is saying that I could have achieved better. So it's good to feel what you're feeling, because when you try to connect and listen to your emotions, it also helps you to throw away those emotions and turn it into positive emotions. Okay, so it's okay to feel sad. If you would be one of those who would just get passing mark and start dancing, then I would be a little worried. But it's great to feel. Okay, so don't worry. Just listen to your emotions, acknowledge it, and then try and use the coping skills and see how you can change it. It will change.
Great.
All right. Lalita ma'am, that would be all. Thank you very much, Dr. Yatri, for patiently listening
Thank you,
to
ma'am.
every
Dr.
question and
Yatri.
answering.
Thank you. It was my pleasure to be on board with you all. I'm really grateful and thankful for having me on.
Thank you so much. So nice of you.
Lalita ma'am,
Thank you,
over to
Dr. Yatri.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Dr. Yatri. I think it has been a wonderful session. It's a good learning for all our parents and students. I know students have asked a lot more questions in the chat box, and perhaps, we could later on send it across to you.
Sure.
But they have a lot of doubts too. And the very simple ones. What do I do if I get angry, or if I fail? What are the ways in which I need to manage my emotions? So there are a lot of things, and children of this age have a lot of doubts as well. But I think your session has been very enriching and very useful for all our students and parents. And I particularly, again, acknowledge you for your prenatal care, the Baby and Me program, which you run and which you head, and you're a director of that. So I particularly acknowledge that as well. And I thank Marianne for being there, taking time off and joining us all the way from Netherlands. And a big thank you to Naidu sir for organizing such wonderful webinars. Your parents and students, don't ever miss these Sunday evening webinars. They're very enriching, and a couple of hours in our whole week is definitely an enriching experience for all of us. And thanks to Subhi sir for the wonderful tech support and the moderation he provides during the Q&A session, and all parents and students and teachers who are a part of this. Thank you very much, ma'am, once again, from all of us at Rockwoods International.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.